Welcome to my channel. Thanks for tuning in. If this is your first time here and you like the content, make sure you subscribe, like, and share the videos. We will be doing original content, including short films, commercials, music videos, things like that. We are a full-scale production company, SEI Studios. And today we are talking about Avengers Infinity War. And I've got with me today my friend and fellow filmmaker, Jonathan Woods of Ashe Creative Group.
Hello.
And recently, Brightseed Collaborative.
Yes.
Which I will make sure I put that content down in the comments section so that you can go take a look at his works as well. But today, we are not talking about ourselves. Today, we are talking about, even though we could talk about ourselves, I enjoyed that conversation quite a bit. But today, we are talking about Marvel's Avengers Infinity Wars. Now, I went to go see it last Thursday and then turned around and saw it again on Saturday. I need a second viewing, okay? Which we kind of talked about. And you saw it on Friday. So what were your initial thoughts? What did you think about it?
Actually, I really tried to stay completely oblivious to expectations and to a lot of things that people knew as far as plot or this or that, the other.
And see, I did the exact opposite, which is probably why I screwed myself over. But go ahead.
So I was surprised. As a matter of fact, I didn't realize, and I had no idea that it was actually going to be a two-part, kind of a thing. It was really interesting. I had two reactions. One, I didn't expect to get as emotionally, wrapped up and moved as I did, with the conclusion and everything. And secondly, it was something where, as a filmmaker and as a content creator, I was like, considering how large of a franchise that Marvel and Disney has, it was like one of the ballsiest moves ever to have, things in the way that it did. They
killed off $1.39 billion. If you don't know what he's talking about, first of all, let me say this before we go any further. This is a spoiler review. We are going to be talking about the movie in depth, and we will be revealing information about the movie. So if you have not seen Avengers Infinity Wars, I would have to strongly advise you to go see the movie prior to watching this video. And then come on back and holler at us. But $1.39 billion, and by that you know what I'm talking about.
Yes.
Black Panther.
Yes.
They killed off Black Panther.
Yes.
And then followed that up, and they said, no, we wasn't done yet. They followed that up by killing off Spider-Man.
Yes.
Dude, come on.
Yeah.
I was not expecting that. That.
I definitely wasn't.
That threw me for a loop.
Yeah, especially because, I'm not a big comic book, reader, but I, have read the most recent Secret Wars and the Ultimates and things like this, and this whole thing where actually the entire universe and all of creation and realities, and all this parallel streams of reality, are reconstituted and brought back into order by T'Challa, by the Black Panther, by the people of Wakanda,
right.
Originally, and then everyone else to follow and that kind of a thing. So for him to die, I just knew that he wasn't going to die. And it's like,
no
wait
way,
a minute. Okay,
no
so
way in the world.
What's going on
Which
here?
Which ticked me off because to me it was a great big finger in your face from Kevin Feige and the Russo brothers, as well as Marvel, because they promised us that they were going to give us real deaths and that these deaths were going to be permanent.
Yes.
And for me, and I think I mentioned before, they actually have a 30-year MCU plan. They finished, they've just completed the first 10 years, so now they're working into the second phase. And I said, okay, well, fine. If that's what they're going to do, then you got to figure folks like Captain America and Iron Man and Thor and all of those folks were probably going to pass on so that they can pass the gauntlet on to the new folks like Spider-Man and Black Panther. And then they said, fuck you. They said, fuck you and fuck your thoughts, because we're going to kill off these people. So now, do you think the deaths are real? And if they're not real, then you run into a major problem that you have with superhero movies, which is, what are the stakes? What are the stakes if people can come back at any point in time?
Well, it's interesting. One of our other fellow filmmakers, Chris Adams, he told me that he knew everything that was going to happen because he looked at the contracts of folks and all kind of other weird stuff.
See,
and I'm like,
we're approaching this from a business standpoint. This is what we do.
Exactly. and so the thing is, we don't know. He said actually that he wasn't sure as well.
Okay.
But considering how well Black Panther did, it would be really surprising. And considering they're supposed to be, Black Panther 2, and you said that they're waiting on
Ryan
Ryan.
Coogler.
Yeah,
Ryan Coogler has to get his schedule together for it. Yeah,
which is good
because they were shocked. Nobody was expecting Black Panther to do this.
Yeah,
their
really
projections
didn't.
were right around $600 million. About what Doctor Strange and projects like that did, and it doubled that, dude.
Yes,
as a matter of fact, it knocked out the highest grossing single superhero movie, which was Iron Man 3, which was right around $1.2 billion. Knocked it right out.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah, so they weren't ready for it.
They were not ready for it, but I really don't think that they are so stupid as to. They're gonna have to try to find if he is gone, or they had originally thought of him going. Then they probably gonna have to. I really hope that they bring him back.
What was your thoughts of the movie overall?
Overall, I thought. Well, I got to tell you, it was not the story I expected coming into it. And it was really, really interesting. My favorite, as far as what it is that I got, because oddly enough, the character that I didn't expect to really be interested in the most, and a lot of it was because of his tone, was actually Thanos.
Thanos was the bomb.
Yeah,
he was incredible.
Thanos. Yeah,
they're continuing this theme, and I really hope Marvel continues with it, because they've had major problems with their villains.
Yes,
they're just not as interesting as the DCU.
Yes,
and I'm not a fan of the DC universe at all, and it really is not a slight. I'm not dogging you DC folks. It really is a Warner Brothers issue. You all do wonderful on your television shows, and your
animated is really great.
Their animation is the bomb.
Yes.
But the movies they can't get right, and that's a Warner Brothers issue. But the MCU has had a major problem with their villains, and they started it with Black Panther, and they continued it again with Infinity War, which is the idea of not really dealing with a villain as much as dealing with an anti-hero.
Yeah. Now that's very interesting. That's a really good point. Because, like you said, Eric was more so he was someone with a really different.
It was a major philosophical difference.
But that's great. That makes everything much richer.
That's right.
And it's very interesting that I was very surprised that continued with Thanos.
And the reality is T'Challa was not the hero in Wakanda. Not really. There was a very elitist kind of mentality to the Wakandan people. So much so that right there, even in the beginning, and I know we're supposed to be talking about Infinity Wars, but I'm just going to veer off for a second here. Right there in the beginning, when he goes to get Nakia, because he wants her to come back and see him get crowned as the king, he could care less about the fact that she was there trying to save these women that were being smuggled for human trafficking. He could care less about that. He was there to go get his woman. So that kind of mentality that the Wakandan people had, which was, we're going to take care of home first, we're going to take care of ourselves first, and we don't care what's going on to the rest of the people around the world, even if they're our own people. And Eric Killmonger kind of stepped in and said, no, I've got a totally different philosophical idea about that.
Well, the thing is, it was actually Eric added to the chorus of that. Because, as you said, there were several people who had said, listen, we need more involvement. T'Challa's, he did open up, especially after he found out the history of what his father did and what it is that they had to deal with and all this kind of stuff. I mean, he did open, and then when he did decide to roll the way he decided to roll in a smart way. In a much more balanced way, that because otherwise, it would have been a totally different kind of thing if Eric would have taken over and if he would have implemented in his way. Now one of the other very interesting things about that film, like that I've really, really kind of gotten realized and that I appreciated the fourth time when I watched it was I forget the brother's name, but the brother who was actually head of the clan of folks who
M'Baku.
Who had the cloth that was actually
that was his friend. That was I know who you're talking about. Yeah.
But
the brother from Get Out.
Yes, exactly. It was very interesting because he was very cerebral and very studied in why it is that the actions that he and Eric were taking were necessary.
Yes.
There was emotion, but it was a little bit more control. So that was a very interesting dynamic because he had very logical, well, listen, the way that the world is going, unless we do something, we potentially could be subjugated
Yeah.
because the way in which they roll isn't the way that we roll.
Right.
And we'll go ahead and take care of this and whatever. And we probably would do a better job, ruling things like
Yeah.
this. But it would have been interesting if they would have had a scene or something where if Eric would have outlined his vision
Yeah.
of what the world was going to be after.
Oh,
he
I
took-
completely agree with
I'm
that.
sure that brother
I-
would have been like, whoa,
I
wait a minute, hold a second,
completely agree
whoa,
with that,
we're
yes.
not monsters, we're
Right,
not,
right.
And he was indeed, Eric was doing what he was taught to do.
Right.
Because he was taught by the government.
Trained by the CIA.
Trained by the CIA. Now, of course, the fuel for that was indeed his pain and his hurt and things like this.
Absolutely.
And T'Challa was right there with him, was like, dang, man, we kind of shouldn't have done you wrong like that. What you should have happened
Yeah.
is we should have brought you here. But nonetheless,
I was about to
it's
say,
interesting setup for, of course, once again, Thanos,
A
and
very
all this,
dynamic
and
villain who
Yes.
you really struggle with using the word villain.
Well,
he was actually more
jeez.
villainous in the post-credit scenes of the movies leading in.
Yes.
Once you really kind of, and they now the one thing that I wish they had done is I wish they had given us more backstory to Thanos.
Yes.
He had a very clear vision as to what it is that he was trying to get accomplished.
Yes.
And they outlined what that vision was, but the motivation that really kind of created who this guy was.
Yeah.
That's what I wish they'd have dug into a little
Yeah,
bit more.
yeah,
And that was the one thing that I was missing. From what I understand, there's about 20 minutes of the movie that's missing.
Yes.
That actually did deal with his backstory.
Yeah.
And I would have given up some of the action in the movie to have that backstory.
Yeah.
Because he was Josh Brolin, dude. When you think about him and you think about what's the brother's name that plays Golem and Caesar
Oh my
from
God, yes.
the
Yeah.
Planet of the Apes and
Yeah.
what these cats are able to do in that mocap suit to be able to translate the emotions and the actual performance, dude, through that mocap suit is amazing.
Yes.
And what Josh Brolin did with that character, dude, I thought it was just outstanding. I thought he was cheated by the writing a little bit.
Yeah.
But I thought his performance was absolutely incredible.
Yes.
And he played, again, going back to what I'm talking about with that anti-hero, so much so, I found myself on the second viewing. Once I was like, okay, this is what's going to go down. This is what's happening. I can just kind of sit back, eat my popcorn, and enjoy myself. I found myself in that last sequence, in that last scene, when he shows up in Wakanda and he has to walk through all of these different heroes in order to get to the Scarlet Witch, who is at the same time trying to destroy this last stone and fight him off at the same time.
Yes.
I found myself quietly kind of rooting for the dude.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I mean, it was a weird thing
Well,
because he had a journey, he had a purpose, and he was doing what he
Yes.
needed to do,
Yes.
all the way up to killing the only thing that he ever loved.
Yes.
That was another surprise.
That
Was probably the only surprise.
You know what really got me was that scene after he'd been successful, after he'd snapped his fingers and suddenly poof, he was in that space.
Where do you think he was? I think he was in the Soul Stone.
Where he was
I think he was in the Soul Stone.
quite possibly.
Yeah.
Where he was talking to what's her
Gamora.
name's character? Yeah,
Gamora. Who
He
was
talking to
also
her.
killed to
And
get
then-
the Soul Stone. I
exactly.
think he was inside the Soul Stone.
And that moment and that whole kind of thing's like, well, what did did you get what you want? Well, yeah, what did it
Yeah.
cost you? It cost you everything.
Everything.
She's like, that was just really,
and the
really
moment
something else.
right there at the end when he did exactly what he said he was going to do.
Yes,
I want to go to the
exactly.
farm
I'm
and I
gonna
want to sit and I want to watch
the sun.
Yes, I want to
Yes.
watch the sun and watch. And the
Again,
look on
another
his face.
Yes,
he really believes that what he did was the right thing.
And it's so interesting because once again, what happened with Eric Killmonger?
Yeah.
What was it?
Yeah.
Wanted to watch the sun. I understand it was beautiful.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
These types of it's an interesting type of thing here, type of parallels, and yeah, it just like I said, Thanos was actually surprisingly was my favorite character.
Yeah, I really
you
feel
know.
like the MCU has really taken to heart what everybody has been saying as far as the villains are concerned.
Mm-hmm.
And most certainly, between Black Panther and definitely in this movie, the heroes almost took a back seat
Yeah.
to ensuring that they developed and pushed out the intentions of the villain. Well, like I said, I have trouble calling Thanos the villain in
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
this.
Yeah.
It was two
and
groups of
that's-
people who were trying
Yes.
to stop this thing
And
or
see,
start this thing from
this
happening.
is why it's going to be very interesting to see what happens with the second, part, because I didn't know there were two parts originally.
And there wasn't
but it's gonna
supposed to
very
be a
interesting.
part two. The Russo brothers made it very clear, because originally this was supposed to be Avengers, Infinity War 1 and Infinity War 2.
Yes.
And then they said, no, the second movie is so totally different from it that, no, we're going to end it, and this is going to be a concluding story that's going to happen here, and then we're going to start a new story there. And that was a lie. That was a lie. This story is clearly going to continue. They have to go ahead and answer the questions that they set up in this movie, unless they do like their brother company or sister company, whatever you want to call Lucasfilm, where they don't give two shits. They'll go ahead and give you The Force Awakens and then come back with The Last Jedi, and one has absolutely nothing to do with the other damn movie. So if they're going to come out and do it like that, which I pray they don't, then okay, fine. Then I understand what they're saying. But if not, no, this is clearly part 1 and part 2 of the same movie.
Yeah. Because the aftermath, it's something else. But going to be something else. But yeah, it was like I said, different than what I expected.
Yeah. What'd you think about that opening scene? I was going back and forth with my friends last night about what happened to the Hulk, right?
Yes.
That was their biggest sticking point with the entire movie, was how the Hulk was handled.
Yeah. Well,
they were not pleased.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, I thought it was hilarious. First off, I was like, man, okay, finally.
Yeah.
A character who can really, truthfully, honestly
dude,
go toe-to-toe.
He should have Shane Mosley'd him, dude. He put that thing on him, dude. It was a prison yard ass.
Yes.
It right hooked him.
But it's hilarious that Hulk was like, "Nah, game over, man. I'm not coming back."
The Hulk had post-traumatic stress disorder, dog.
Yeah. So that was a real trip, but it was interesting. Once again, it added to like when Bruce came, back to Earth and was like, "Yo," and hugging folks for real, and like, and they were like, "What? Come on, what's going on?"
Dude, it's one of those weird things that you forget that. Prior to Ragnarok, it was in, I think it was Age of Ultron, that he ended up getting in the plane and he flew off, and then nobody heard from the Hulk anymore.
Yes, exactly.
And then he shows up in Thor Ragnarok, and then he shows up here, and when you look at the gap of time, some of these folks haven't seen him for 2-3 years.
Yes, exactly. Significant amount of time.
Yeah, that was interesting when he saw Tony out in the park and he went to go hug him, and Tony was like, Banner, where you been?
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I love? I love the scene when Banner's talking to Shuri and they're trying to break down the stone in Vision's head. And she said, well, why didn't you just do this, that, and the third? And he said, well, we didn't think about that. And now at that point, Banner's the second smartest motherfucker that we met in the MCU. And Shuri's sitting there looking at him like,